Good evening and happy Labor Day. I'm Kathleen Jordan. Welcome to K10 News at 5. For businesses out on our area lakes, the Labor Day holiday is their last big weekend of the summer season. Thank you, Alan. We have an update for the breaking news story that we brought you at the top of the newscast, where police in Sherman had originally thought was a hostage situation has been resolved peacefully.
K10's Michelle Choi has been out on the...
Parents of U.S. soldiers killed in action are demanding an apology from the Republican nominee for his feud with the mother and father of a decorated U.S. Army captain. Many Americans have their own personal opinions when it comes to getting vaccinated against the flu, some of which are not exactly accurate. NBC's Erica Edwards explains. Welcome back. We want to bring you an update to the story that we brought you at the top of the newscast, where the Dallas protests had turned violent. Ex-Oma Marine who fought in the Korean War is getting the chance to reunite with some of those he fought with, all thanks to his community. Thank you, Alan. Well, Hermine, now officially a hurricane, is taking aim at the Florida Gulf Coast as the governor warns of potentially life-threatening dangers. NBC's Sarah Rosario is in Cedar Key with more on the effects of the storm so far and the measures people have taken there to stay safe.
Hi, Alex. We've been out here for about an hour and we still don't have many details, but here's what we do know. The Grayson County Sheriff's Office confirms one person is dead. The other person has been taken to a hospital, but we're not sure what their condition is. As you can see behind me,
Team USA is ready to take on the world at the Rio Olympics. NBC's Mark Barger takes a look at some of the strongest American athletes making their Olympic debuts, as well as some of the familiar faces going for the gold. We begin tonight with breaking news out of Davis, Oklahoma, where Turner Falls Park is closed tonight. The city tells us there's a large grass fire that shut down the park. We have a picture taken from I-35 where you can see the smoke carrying for miles in the sky. We're told multiple agencies are on the scene right now working to get that fire under control. And turning to weather now, storms coming through our area. A welcome change from all this heat. Goes in for Alan tonight. Joe, how's it looking? On to today's health news. Another sign that school is starting. Many kids are hitting the field for upcoming sports season. What happens if your child takes a hard hit on the field and is diagnosed with a concussion? They'll definitely miss some playing time, and depending on how severe it is, you could face a mountain of doctor bills. Cornelius Hawker shows us how athletic trainers watch out for your kids so the hit they take doesn't hit your pocketbook. Police in Davis have words of warning tonight for people who like to hike. Officers tell us police have in the past hour taken away that vehicle that the suspect ditched, but they have yet to find him. Sherman police. People in one Bryan County neighborhood can rest easy tonight. We're told a standoff there has ended peacefully. Investigators with the Bryan County Sheriff's Office say about 30 minutes ago, a man was arrested in Durant after a standoff with authorities. It happened. And I'm Kathleen Jordan. Democrats ended their unprecedented sit-in on the House floor.
If you were driving around today, you probably got where you were headed. It just took you much longer. An update on the roads now. Things are moving faster on Highway 75 to the side streets. Roads have improved because the snow isn't coming down as hard. But of course, as the temperatures continue to drop, any snow that's on the ground now could turn into ice. Interesting sight right here off of Texoma Parkway. I'm going to step aside and show you. The sign for the American Bank of Texas has fallen down.
A handful of protesters have gathered in downtown Baltimore this evening after a second police officer charged in the death of Freddie Gray has walked out of court a free man. For some of us, having 1 or even 2 cups of Joe a day is the norm. But do you ever wonder why you may be such a big coffee drinker? The answer may be in your DNA. Mayor Maloney explains. Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton was in Sherman this morning for a court hearing. He's fighting a federal civil fraud case. The investigation will look at 3 main factors to determine the cause of that crash: the balloon, its operators, and the environment.
Football teams.
And the Rangers are up against my red-hot Orioles. Well, by this time next week, many local football teams will be leaving the field with the first game of the season in the books. But fans in one local town are getting anxious because their team is ready, but their field is not. The countdown to kickoff is on. Soon the gates will be open and the lights will be on. Players, coaches, and fans are all ready for some football, but in Ardmore, 2 fields aren't up to speed. This 2016 season, the Ardmore Tigers and the Plainview Indians will play on new turf.
They are working hard. You know, it's exciting.
Fans worry time is running out for crews to get to the end zone, but coaches made the call on Friday, and the ruling on the fields stands.
We are going to play the first game. We're still saying it's going to be done.
Crews have been working on both fields for months, but the weather continues to cause delays.
Can't really do the gluing and the cutting and stuff while it's raining.
Things like moving the gravel and actually pouring the concrete. But days like this aren't wasted. We're told crews are finishing the prep work, and Plainview's athletic director promises they've reached the final down.
It's the labor-intensive work now of actually cutting. They have to cut out every number, every hash mark, and then sew in the white.
And as the crews work hard for the season kickoff, so do the players.
Our kids go out there every day and look, and they're super excited about it, and we are too as a staff.
Let's go! And the Tigers host the Ada Cougars in their home opener on September 2nd, and the Indians host the Grant Generals on the 9th. And you can catch the highlights of those games and all of the other games across Texoma right here on K10 every Friday night at 10:17 for K10 First and 10.
We're not even breaking the surface of this.
Camille Snyder wakes up before the sun rises to fill up her SUV with bags of food. Food donated through members of her church, local charities, produce stands.
Anything you want to give us, I'll take it.
And restaurant chains. And by the end of the day, there's nothing in the SUV.
We are functioning week to week and just have to pray that we have enough to give out.
Driving across Denison and Sherman, she hand delivers food to men, women, and children out on Highway 75, back streets, in tents, dumpsters, and in cars. But Snyder says the program, called Share, Taking It to the Streets, doesn't confine the term homeless to people outdoors.
It means living from one family to one family to one family. You know, when someone is tired of them being there, they have to move on and move on.
The only way we could air the story was if we agreed to keep the identity of those she's feeding anonymous. Snyder says it's taken her a long time to gain the trust of those she's helping.
You start with that first person, and then they'll tell you about somebody else, and then they'll tell you about somebody else, and it just grows from there.
She meets veterans and their pets. She meets parents with several children, even homeless taking in other homeless within their campsites. Snyder says oftentimes the people that she helps don't fit the criteria to go into a homeless shelter.
Well, there's a lot of people out there coming from all different walks of life. Some are working. They're living in a tent, but yet they're working, but they just can't seem to put enough money together to get first and last month's rent.
Making it hard for them to find a permanent home and, as she says, break the vicious cycle of homelessness. A cycle she says some don't make it out alive.
I know of 2 that have frozen to death.
Alice Bailey showed little concern when she walked into a Carter County courtroom Tuesday afternoon. Prosecutors say she entered a plea deal, this just 2 months after pleading not guilty, in connection with the death of her 2-year-old son, Jacob. And as this case comes to a close, the pain for her family and friends doesn't go away.
Ready for them to come home. Sad, you know, we all miss him, but we know that he's in a better place, and, you know, we all accept that. But it's hard going day to day without him.
Prosecutors say last April, 2-year-old Jacob Bailey died while choking on his own vomit after eating dog food. At the time of his death, reports show the toddler also tested positive for having oxycodone in his system. Neighbors remembered his happy spirit.
And he was always smiling. He always had a big smile. So it's just sad.
It happened on Easter Sunday of 2015. And in the days after, Jacob's death rocked the small town of Wilson.
Very shocking, yes, for a small town, yeah.
When we caught up with people in town then, they said they couldn't imagine the pain the family was going through.
It's bad for the grandmother and the parents of the child. I really feel sorry for them.
And through the pain and the sadness, neighbors said they'll stand by the family who ultimately lost a little boy.
We try to help each other out here in Wilson.